Hey everybody, we have Jill Burgin with us this morning. I'm so excited. She is the External Affairs Officer for Williamson County Emergency Management Agency. That's a big mouthful, and there's so much to learn about that because she and I were just chatting. I was learning some stuff too, so we want to share it with you. Jill, how's it going this morning?
Hey, Donna, going great. Thanks. Lots of busy stuff going on.
I know. So just to give people a little bit of background, you were previously with the Heritage Foundation, and I know people saw you there doing great work there, but now you have a new role and very important as well to our county. So tell us exactly, I don't think many people understand that Williamson County has its own emergency management agency, which is so important. And obviously we don't want to really use it because that means there's something crisis happening, but it's good to have it. So can you explain that to us?
Well, you're absolutely right. It's one of those things where the county has done a lot of really great planning to have in place this organization, Emergency Management Agency. It's Williamson County based, and a lot of folks are probably familiar with FEMA at the federal level, the Federal Emergency Management Agency that comes in and organizes the response to disasters such as hurricanes or flooding. There's a state level TEMA. And in Williamson County has Williamson County Emergency Management Agency. So it's a group of folks who have a background. It's a professional designation, and they have a background in disaster planning, response, mitigation. We do a lot of work with some of the large events in our county, the fair, Renaissance Festival, things like that, with evacuation planning and just set up. We can help plan so that things are safer for a large crowd. But also disaster mitigation, where you can help folks be prepared and help prevent the worst case scenario if something does happen locally. And then, of course, the response, which is what we're mainly going to talk about today. When something happens, if it's our most common natural disasters like a tornado, flooding, or winter storms, or even something man-made, we can be ready to step in as soon as possible to help make things better.
Yes, and that is leading me to what we were talking about. VOAD, did I get that right?
Yes.
Is a new program because we are so helpful in Williamson County. So many people always want to join together and band together when there is a crisis. I know right now there are people in Spring Hill collecting for the people in Kentucky for those floods. But there's a program now that we can kind of gather everyone together so that we don't have 15 organizations trying to collect and help with the disaster. This way it can all be one unified thing. So I'm talking more, you should need to talk more about it, but tell us more about that, how it works.
Well, the Kentucky flooding response is a great example. You can imagine with the major media coverage that they rightfully have gotten over this situation, the outpouring of support, because as we know, there are a ton of folks who want to help. But if you don't have an organized response, you can have a disaster on top of a disaster with too many materials and that can't be sorted. If things are just dropped off randomly, the officials can't take time away to go through that stuff and get it to the right channels. So a VOAD is an organization, it's an association of organizations that steps in to sort of fill the gaps with nonprofit groups, faith-based groups, and even corporate organizations that want to help during a disaster. And it's a way to organize those groups so that the help can be received the most efficient way. And VOAD stands for Volunteer Organizations Active in Disaster. And there's a national VOAD, there is a Tennessee VOAD, and there are a lot of regional VOADs around. And things had gotten to the point in Williamson County where we realized that we needed to start our own local Williamson County VOAD. So that's what we've done. And we're really just trying to get the word out to those organizations that we want them to join. There's no cost, but it's a way to be in the loop, literally, when a disaster strikes. So it's not something for individuals to sign up for. It's really for church-based groups, nonprofit charities that may serve particular populations, and corporations that often have a disaster response group. We'd love for them to be part of it as well.
Yes. And I think what you just mentioned is so important, coming together as a community, which we're all so willing to do in Williamson County, but this way it's a little more organized. I know back in Waverly when they had the issue back in the spring, I think I saw someone at one point were like, we don't need any more water. We've got way too much water. And so I guess this can help avoid that. You can actually get people what they actually need.
Right. And it's in addition to, providing help, it can provide improved communication between the folks that are on the ground there and folks who have resources they can offer. And what's great about the VOAD is it's not just, you don't have to show up with a chainsaw and a shovel to be part of this group. They need help on all levels. It can be anything from a small church that has a meeting room that's available, that if it happens to be in an area of the county where there's an emergency situation, responders may be able to use that space to gather together and sort of, have a planning space. It can be anything from volunteer check-in. Sometimes we just need folks to sit at tables and check people in at an emergency situation. Counseling services. Sometimes if a disaster is extended over a period of time and you need folks to help people with what they've been through. You can even have groups that deal with animals. A lot of times you don't think about that. If there's a flood, what should we do with these animals that I have, or my pet is lost, things like that. Also, like I said, special populations. We need help with groups who handle aging populations, groups that can offer translation services. There's just all kinds of stuff that's beyond just the hard labor that you initially may think of when you think of emergency response.
Which is why this group is so important, because you guys can help direct that energy that people want to give, because you just mentioned so many things that I had no idea or really had not put thought to. I know animals in the past, but like elderly, just so many things you just mentioned that I don't think, or probably a lot of people wouldn't think, other than, like you said, the manual labor, the water, the cleanup. There's so many other things that go along with it.
Absolutely. And it's not just there's some of the large church denominations that have established organizations like UMCOR with the United Methodists. I know Church of Christ is always very active with food boxes and things like that. But even small congregations can help. Sometimes we need folks to sort. If there are lots of donations, we just need people to sort items and organize them for us, things like that. And the best part about the VOAD really is that it's the sum of experience from other professionals who've been through these situations before. They've seen what happens at the sites, and they are trying to make the situation better for the folks who've been through the emergency.
Right. Wow. Such really great information to have. Regarding the emergency management group that you were there with, right now we seem to be in an okay place. I don't want to jinx it here in Williamson County. Things seem to be going well, but we're going into the fall, which sometimes can be tornadoes, and then soon will be maybe some snow this winter. We'll see. But where can people find more information if those things come up and maybe they need assistance and maybe something's happened? Where can they find information?
Yeah, absolutely. There's the Williamson County Emergency Management Agency and the Department of Public Safety have a great website that's full of information, even down to resources for kids that parents can print out and share with children to get them in the right mindset for thinking about what would I do if this happened. They've got family planning scenarios where you can come up with a communications plan, things like that. And that's on the website at wcpublicsafety.org. Or you can also Google Williamson Ready. That's our EMA public education branch.
Great. Well, it's been great to catch up with you, learn so much about this. I hope other people will hear this and organizations so they can join in. You don't have to wait till a disaster. You can join now, right, to be a part of this.
They call it blue sky planning, and I think that's a great metaphor, because that's really, you don't want to wait till the day it happens to try to figure out what to do. And so we've got some folks here working all the time on planning for how to help their neighbors when something happens. And all they have to do is go to those websites, Williamson, wcpublicsafety.org, and they'll get connected right away.
Great. Hey, thanks again for joining us and telling us all about that. And I have learned so much. I hope everyone else has learned as much as I have. All right, we'll see you soon.